Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. And today I'd like to continue on with our journey, our discussion, you and I, of the recent releases made by the Criterion Collection during this year of 2020. And in particular, I'd like to focus our attention, if I may, on a really wonderful film from 1974, and this is from the director John Barry, and this is given the spy number 1052. An absolutely delightful and quite profound work in a lot of ways. This is the film Claudine. This is the film from 1974, and it is based off of a screenplay from Tina Pine and Lester Pine, and it is directed by John Barry. It stars Diane Carroll and James Earl Jones. This is the absolutely wonderful film, Claudine. I'm so happy this film is in the Criterion Collection the way it is, with this wonderful, beautiful release that we have here in front of us. In essence, this film is about a woman named Claudine who is living in Harlem in New York with her 6 children. And this story essentially depicts her life and the choices that she has to make, the circumstances that face her and her family, and her efforts, her great efforts in trying to support herself and her children, her family, in day-to-day circumstances and situations. Now, this film also covers and depicts with such skill and warmth and poetry the nature of the relationships that Claudine has with each of her children. And there is a story, there are issues and situations that arise with each of these particular characters, such that we feel the impact and weight and emotion of each of these characters and what it is that they are all respectively going through, and how Claudine is the mother, and she is the person that must support them through it all. And so that is a really lovely, really beautifully rendered set of stories that has a lot of emotional impact. So that's one key aspect of the drama of the film. Another key aspect, of course, is the way that the film depicts the relationship, the beautifully depicted relationship between Claudine and the James Earl Jones character, Roop, and how that seems to inform us and to show us more of who Claudine is as a character, and what it is that she believes, who she is as a person, and how therefore she is going through this particular set of challenges and adversities that she faces in her day-to-day life. And also we see the same set of examination points with respect to the character of Roop and what it is he is going through and how it is he is approaching life and his kind of philosophy, and how events might affect that, and what it is the characters have to go through in order to try to overcome certain challenges along the way. And so at its very essence, this film is a family drama. It's a drama about relationships. And it's a drama that is about characters going through certain circumstances that are sometimes quite challenging indeed. So, but at the same time, the film is presenting us these beautifully constructed stories with a sense of warmth and also a sense of humor and sometimes comedy and happiness and joy. And so this is one of the great sources of strength of this film, because it does show us a story about family and the bonds of family and relationships and how they are tested and how they might be challenged or maybe damaged, but also at the same time how these positively established bonds can also lead to certain avenues of life that I think become very essential, or that we as viewers can recognize as being very essential. And I think this is very important too, that this film establishes this line, if you will, of a sort of a sense of human drama. But it's a balanced sense of human drama. In other words, there are moments of levity as well as moments of seriousness and gravity. But it is used in essence to paint a full picture of these characters and their lives. And so I really respect and admire that approach. This is very important too, because what this film is also attempting to deal with is also a depiction of the way in which these characters are having to deal with things like systemic prejudice that seems to be built in to certain structures or organs of public service or government that are essentially designed to try to help or give assistance. Because Claudine is a character that is on welfare, and so one of the themes of the film is how the practical application of welfare assistance programs as it affects Claudine and other characters, how that becomes itself a real challenge, and what that means to the core humanity of people like Claudine, which is a really, I think, a very essential aspect of this film. And what this film does so skillfully as well is it interweaves these essential points of the way in which these circumstances involving government and welfare, how they are challenging and how they seem to be impeding or hindering the means by which characters like Claudine and her children and Roop and others, the means by which these characters are able to achieve a sense of dignity and worth and self-worth. Now, this is, I think, a very important point, because what that allows the film to do is it allows the film to structure its story, the dramatic story about the characters and the relationship and the family. It allows the story, therefore, to structure that particular element of the plot with the elements of the plot involving the challenges to human dignity vis-a-vis these systems of public support. And what that means too is that the notion of systemic prejudice, and also the notion of what to do in the face of that systemic prejudice, and also what that does to the human condition, the human spirit, and how that affecting of the human spirit affects our relationships and thus our own view of ourselves. It links it all together in this incredibly emotionally powerful way that I think makes this film very, very profound indeed. In other words, everything is linked to the personal and that journey, and I think it's personified so well by Claudine's journey, right? In other words, the things that she's experiencing in terms of the welfare issues, that is linked directly with her relationships with her family, her children, Roop, and also her view of herself. And that, I think, is the key, which is wonderful. And I dare say, too, that the film really goes for strong connections when it is depicting the family unit or the strength of human bonds. And it doesn't just depict these strengths of human bonds and these family struggles and these family relationships and these human relationships. It does it so well within the context of the drama, don't get me wrong, but it also does it so well in the sense that it links that sense of the importance of bonds. It links that sense of family unit and togetherness with the notion of a real effort to establish oneself, to really exclaim one's existence, and to say to the world, this is who I am, and this is who we are as a family. And the film then paints the environment in which this family unit exists. And sometimes it's a welcoming environment, other times it's a very harsh and unwelcoming environment. But even in those circumstances, this is a story about a group of people that are saying, this is who we are. And when the environment becomes unwelcoming, then that exclamation becomes almost a kind of protest, which is, I think, a brilliantly constructed dramatic link of the film. Or in other circumstances, when the environment is a more welcoming one, then it becomes a beautifully rendered, quite heartwarming and very moving drama about characters, about family, about human relationships, about people, thus about you and me. This is a film that is about people, and I really love the film for that. This is the film Claudine, and this is at spine number 1052. A really great film. If you haven't seen it, I urge you, really urge you to check it out, because it's so worth it. And the Criterion collection released here has not at all disappointed, because, first of all, this is purported to be based on a new 4K digital restoration. And I think it looks great, it sounds great, and it's wonderful to see. And that's not all, because we also have a commentary track. Now, this is a commentary track from 2003, so it's not a Criterion-produced commentary track per se, but it is still a commentary track all the same. And it is one of those where we have different people, and they are speaking, it seems, separately, but the commentary track seems to edit their commentary together into one continuous audio track. And so we have Diane Carroll and some of her comments. We have Lawrence Hilton Jacobs and some of his comments, and also filmmaker George Tillman Jr., and also Dan Pine, who is the child of the screenwriters Tina Pine and Lester Pine. And then also we have James Earl Jones giving comments. And this is, I think, an overall very robust, very informative commentary. And I really love the detail and the earnest honesty that I think a lot of these people are talking about. And so I think this is a very good commentary track to have, and I'm glad it's being carried over like it is by the Criterion collection here. But that's not all, because then we have a Criterion collection produced supplement. This is from 2020, and this is a conversation had online or over the sort of online meeting between Robert Townsend and Ashley Clark. And I love this conversation so much. I love this conversation so much because, well, first of all, the two of them, they are talking with such respect and admiration for the film and for the filmmakers involved with Claudine. I really love that. So this is actually a supplement which is called Robert Townsend on Claudine, and he describes it as being one of his favorite films ever. And he speaks in such loving, glowing terms about it, and how a lot of the story was something that he could see in his own life, and how Claudine as a character was a kind of character that reminded him of people that he himself knew in his own family. So I found it to be such a beautiful way of describing it, as well as the importance of the film and how the film makes certain choices that might seem to be choices that aren't necessarily part of the types of films that maybe were coming out at the same time as Claudine. And we have also, in relation to that, how this film figures into or perhaps goes against the traditions that were established by the cinematic so-called blaxploitation films, and how, as I say, this film seems to be having certain relations to that, but also having a life of its own, which is a remarkable and interesting way to position a film like this in the stretch of cinematic history. And I think it makes it very powerful indeed. They also talk about the performances and how important they were. They make reference, I think quite rightly so, to Diane Carroll and her Academy Award nominated performance, and just how true to life her performance felt, and also James Earl Jones and the physicality of his role, as well as the emotional depth that is carried through with his character, and other remarkable comments. I love this conversation so much between Ashley Clark and Robert Townsend, because, among other things, I think they are really paying so much respect to the material, and they never take the conversation in any other ways or strands other than focusing in on the material and how they interact with it, and what they feel about it, and how it informed a lot of things in their lives, and also how it can inform a lot of things in our lives. And so I love that about this conversation. It's so great. It's approximately 30 minutes, so it's long, it's detailed, and it's packed with information and insight. So the conversation between Robert Townsend and Ashley Clark, well worth checking out, my friends. But that's not all, because then we have an audio recording of Diane Carroll from 1974, and she's talking at the AFI Harold Lloyd Master Seminar. And this is approximately 21 minutes. And this is an audio it's audio track, an audio recording only. But it is an audio recording that's accompanied by pictures, photos, and also artist renderings of certain positions, maybe of John Barry directing Diane Carroll and James Earl Jones in the scene, or I think there's an artist rendering of Diane Carroll standing in front of a podium talking to what I assume is meant to be the AFI Harold Lloyd seminar crowd. And so that's to say that this is an audio recording that's assisted very nicely by visual pictures and the like, which is it makes it even it makes it really nice to follow. But I dare say too that the comments themselves are really easy to follow. It's lovely to hear Diane Carroll's take. She's very honest about working in the industry, how she got her start, and her career leading up to Claudine, in particular TV series Julia and the like, and then the circumstances that led to her being cast. As we know, that it's actually quite a complex set of circumstances that led to her casting. But then she was cast, and then what it was that she brought to the character, and how that affected the performances, and also her working relationships with the actors that she was encountering, and also working with the children that she was working with in terms of the family that was being depicted, and other such anecdotal stories of that sort. So it's really great to listen to. I recommend that also wholeheartedly. Diane Carroll's comments, I think, are very intelligent. They're very honest, and they're quite insightful when we think about who Claudine is and what it is she's going through in the course of this film. So this is also very essential to listen to. So this is the 1974 audio recording of Diane Carroll speaking to in this AFI seminar. And then to round out the supplements, we have Imogen Sarah Smith. I'm a big fan of hers. And here she's talking in a one-on-one Criterion produced supplement, approximately 19 minutes, about the director John Barry. And this is another interesting story in and of itself. And so Imogen Sarah Smith provides great historical analysis, but in a wonderfully easy to understand way, and she does this so well in this and other excerpts and other supplements, of other releases. But here she's talking about John Barry, where he came from, who he was, the lead up to his career, his directorial career in Hollywood, and what happened to his working with the Mercury Theater and Orson Welles, and then him becoming a film director of great note and promise, and then how that was affected in terms of the Hollywood blacklist and what that meant for him going forward, and how his career was affected, where he went in terms of France, and then working in the theater, and then coming back to America, and then those circumstances leading up to how he ended up directing Claudine. And so this is, I think, an essential, very essential supplement about the career of John Barry, and how things seem to really converge at just the right moment so that he could provide his kind of camera eye and his attention to detail and to the human character moments that I think mark his career as it's described by Imogen Sarah Smith so brilliantly. So this is another great supplement to have, once again, with the great Imogen Sarah Smith talking about John Barry. And then we have the booklet. Now, I should say, first of all, that I've taken the booklet out of the Blu-ray here, which is right here in front of me. So I should point out this wonderful, wonderful artwork. I really find this just so great. And this art is designer Alphaville Design, art director Sarah Habibi and Eric Skillman, and this artwork is continued on through the leaflet insert here. Now, it's one of the leaflets, it's one of these fold-outs, so it's not a stapled book. As you know, I'm a fan of the stapled book, but it does have, as I say, great artistic drawings here, which I love these so much. Plus, it has another of the great essays, and I love the essays so much. This is another great one. It is called A Happy Home by Danielle A. Jackson. And this is written by someone who knows this film, who loves this film, who appreciates the film for what it is, who can really speak truthfully and earnestly about what this film means and how this is important. She speaks a little bit about Third World Cinema Corporation, and also about the character movements, the way that this is in some ways almost like a sitcom rendering, but it is also very full of heart and drama and quite heavy themes to it. And so therefore it is a wonderful mix and blend of styles and dramatic tones and shifts, but it blends itself, or it balances itself so skillfully and so adroitly, such as to create commanding drama that is effective even to this very day. So this essay is another great one. So I urge you to check it out if you can. It is called A Happy Home. And so with that, my friends, this is the film Claudine, as released by the Criterion Collection. Once again, I must stress and urge you to check out this film if you haven't already. This is such a great, great film. It is a great film because of what it is trying to say. It is also a great film in how it is saying it. It relies not on overly saccharine sentimentality, I would dare say, but rather it relies on the truths of the human condition and the day-to-day circumstances that human beings face, and how it is they try to overcome these challenges in a way that can maintain a sense of human dignity, worth, and self-worth that can lead to some kind of resolution, if there is one. So there it is. It's all here, my friends, and it is so emotional and it's so profound to watch even now, and it seems to have a resonance and a kind of immediacy that I think is undeniable, and it will last, and it creates a sense of timelessness, which makes it very accessible and very rewarding watching indeed. This is the film from 1974. It's spine number 1052. The film is Claudine. Okay, my friends, so that's it for now. And so until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well, and please keep on watching a lot of great, great movies. Thank you so much, as always, for your time. I really appreciate it. Stay strong, stay safe, and cheers.